you.
Okay, all right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Insurance Banter with Casava. My name is Chibuzo. I'm currently the HR manager for Casava, and with me today we have Dr. Precious. Dr. Precious, can you do me the honors of pronouncing your surname so that I don't make a blunder?
Okay, it's Erhauyi. Did you get that?
Okay, Erhauyi. Are you from Edo?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. So Dr. Precious is our guest today, and basically our topic for today on this webinar is just the tree of wellness. So we're going to be talking about health, body, and mind. And we've got a seasoned medical practitioner that has over 4 years of general practice, and he's coming to speak to us today. He currently works in Hygeia as the wellness and communications expert there, and he's going to be speaking to us today basically to just let us know what wealth is, how we can be sound in our health, our body, and our mind. Dr. Precious, would you just like to give a very brief introduction? I know I did some justice, but I know that there are probably some things that you'd like to add as well. Dr. Precious, if you can hear me, you need to speak up. We can't hear you. Hello, Dr. Precious.
All right.
Okay. Now I can hear you. Please go ahead.
All right. So like I said, we'll just start with the mental health. Can everyone hear me, please?
Yes. So let's first start with getting to know a bit about you, and then we'll now take it a step further. So just tell us briefly about you. Who is Dr. Precious, and just one exciting thing about you so that we can at least ease into the conversation.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I can't share my screen, my video at the moment. My network is having some glitch. So I will just, please pardon me for that. Okay.
Okay. All right. That's fine. So please go ahead.
So my name is Precious Erhauyi. I'm a medical practitioner. I finished from Rizalin University. I'm currently working as a communications and awareness officer at Hygeia HMO. So basically for me, I'm more concerned about preventive medicine. So I believe that, like we all know, prevention is better than cure. So would want to, explore the more preventive healthcare rather than curation. So that's basically what we're going to be doing here today, getting to have that knowledge of our mental health, our health, our body and mind, and of course, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So, that's pretty much all about me.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Precious. It's good that you've shed some awareness to know that this is the Breast Cancer Month, because everybody knows that we're in Pink October, as well as it's also World Mental Health Awareness Month as well. So that's the essence for why we've picked this topic. And just very briefly, for people that are not aware what wellness is, it's just the act of practicing healthy living, having healthy habits to sustain one's body, mind, and just so that you have better mental or physical health outcomes. So let's move quickly so that we're able to get maximum feedback from Dr. Precious. Can you just talk us a bit about mental health, what exactly mental health is about? Let's start with that.
Okay, do I have to share my screen? I should just be talking. It doesn't.
No, fine. You can just talk.
Okay, all right. So basically, for me, mental health it's just having that sort of holistic well-being of the mind. Because most of the disease conditions we see, they are psychosomatic conditions. So mental health is a state of psychological well-being where there's absence of mental disorders, and the disorders can range from depression, anxiety, and they're just tons of mental illnesses. So mental health is that psychological well-being, or basically just means being able to function, satisfactorily and adapt to stress. So that's what mental health is all about.
Okay, and what's the link between mental health and physical health?
Okay, like I said, we have psychosomatic conditions. Most of the disease conditions, from diabetes, hypertension, most of the disease conditions, it means psycho means mental, Somatic means body. So what affects the mind affects the body. And what affects the body can eventually affect the mind. So they are working together. There's a link between the mind, which is the brain now, and the human body. So when you have an optimal mental health, it has a way of reflecting in your cells, your tissues, and your organs. So that is what, but that's a connection between the brain and of course, the human body, the body.
Okay, so I'm just curious because you just mentioned the physical connectivity between mental health and physical health, but how does the body play in promoting wellness?
Yeah, it's wellness is basically lifestyle choices made by individuals just to stay healthy. So what is wellness? How you attain wellness is different from how another person would attain wellness, because there are certain conditions, factors that may be involved. So how your body plays a role in wellness is that we see when you take care of your body, when you are self-conscious, or when you have self-appraisal, you take care of your body from your physical outlook. And of course, the mind is part of the body as well. So if you take care of your body, it can affect your overall, functioning. And wellness cut across every area of our lives, from personal, even to job, and every area inclusive. So basically, I think the body is a tool that we need to take care of. I mean, it's a human part of human being that we need to take care of. And the more we do so, the more we have that sort of awareness, so to speak. That's overall awareness. Yeah.
Okay. Just for our audience in-house, we've put up a poll for you to please respond to. I see that people are beginning to participate. I'll just give you about 5 seconds so that we can have people participate in the poll. Please check your screens for the poll. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to give 1 more minute so that we can wrap up on the poll. Okay, so moving on, let's get to the crux of today's conversation, which Dr. Precious is going to speak significantly on, and that is basically on breast cancer awareness, and how to just navigate this. Dr. Precious, are you with us? Where's Dr. Precious? Dr. Precious? Okay, so it seems like we lost Dr. Precious. So let me throw this open to the public. How many of us are aware of what breast cancer is? And first of all, know that we're in Breast Cancer Awareness Month. If you do, please just raise up your hand so that we can even know if people understand what the essence of this conversation, why we need to stress the need to be aware of our breast health, basically. Okay, so I have 5 participants that have raised their hands. We have 6 people now. Okay, so let me try to open a bit. Sadie, why is it important that we know we follow up on our breast, basically, and that it's constantly in our review that we need to check our breast, both male and female, especially in this month of October?
Okay, so I think personally, breast cancer awareness is something that women, as young as once you get to a certain age, is something that is being spoken to about, extensively, trying to help you to understand the processes of, first of all, identifying if this is something that you're either prone to, or if this is something that you can prevent, and getting it all out, because it's never a really great thing to happen to anyone, right? When we're growing up, you would think that breast cancer was something that was only, applicable to women. But then as we grow up and learned more, we understood that, even men can also get breast cancer. So ideally, or typically, what I would think that breast cancer month is supposed to be, or is supposed to highlight, is basically awareness, because a lot of people do not know the impact of what breast cancer has caused. A lot of us have questions, in fact, personal questions that we might not be able to go out there and ask doctors and all of that. And so we do our own personal research. We go online, we read stuff that have been written by other people, just so that we can get an understanding. But the truth is that there is no advice that you would get that is as good as getting an advice from a medical practitioner, and which is why I think it was very important for us to do this webinar, just to talk about it generally. But in a personal opinion, I would say that it's very important to understand the risk factor. Early detection is actually very important. There's so many ways that you can examine yourself just to be sure that this is not something that you have, or something that you're prone to. And then it's inevitably ties back to the conversation that we're having about, your wellness in general, right? Because there's so many things you can do physically to ensure that you are not prone to it and all of that. So I would say that that's my own little understanding of, breast cancer and, all its trials.
Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sadie. So we have Dr. Precious back with us, and I'll just let the medical experts do justice to breast cancer and basically enlighten us on our early identification signs, symptoms, and how we can prevent this. So Dr. Precious, over to you, please.
So breast cancer, sorry for the network glitch. Breast cancer is very important. We understand that, like the person I just spoke said, breast cancer can affect both gender, and the fact that it's becoming prevalent, is like the second leading cause of death among women. So it's very serious. It's something we should take seriously. So that's why we have Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So breast cancer is an over-proliferation, sort of the cells in the breast or the tissues just over-proliferates. I mean, they start having something called lumps and all of that. So that's what breast cancer is all about. But 9 out of 10 breast lumps, they are benign. It means that they are not cancerous. So if you check your breast and see that there's a lump, most likely it's not cancerous. But it's advisable to get help, to get yourself checked by a professional to rule out any possibility of malignancy. So that's why early detection or identification is key. So what are the basic signs and symptoms that you'd see? The first one is you noticing a lump. Let's say you're having a bath, or probably like an obvious lump, so or dimpling of the nipple or a part of the breast, like there's a hole that is poked into the breast. These are some of the signs you could see. But first it's just a lump. So you are touching your breast, or for those that are married, your partner is touching your breast, sort of notice the lump. Then you know that it's advisable to get yourself checked, by a professional, just so we rule out cases of malignancy. So of course, some people may have pain, but pain is relative, because pain is not absolute, because you can have pains as a result of menstrual flow or changes in the month as a woman. But that's why pain is not really absolute. So these are the signs, some of the signs you could see. Of course, some women may have discharge in their nipple, or inverted or retracted nipple. So these are some of the signs you could see that would sort of prompt you that there might be a risk factor for breast cancer. Should I go on?
I was going to ask a question. There was something you said that struck me. You mentioned pain in the breast, and that sometimes during ovulation or menstruation, that there's also going to be pain. So how does one decipher this? How do you differentiate? Is it that the pain level probably gets stronger, or you just notice, oh, you're not ovulating, you're not on your period, and then you're still having some pains, especially for people that don't track their ovulation period? So how does one navigate this to be able to tell, okay, that there's something happening in the body that is not a regular thing?
Okay. All right. So about pain, like I said, pain is subjective. Pain is not absolute. I wouldn't use pain as a sign that you may have breast cancer. So that's why we don't use pain as medical practitioners. We use other obvious signs and symptoms. Do you get that? So now we're going to be looking at the lumps, the size, whether it's irregular or irregular, whether it's mobile, or whether there's discharges in the nipple, whether there is pain in the axillary region because of the lymph nodes, swollen lymph nodes. Swollen lymph nodes are also signs of impending breast cancer. So these are some of the definite tests we could do as well. And of course, we can just do check on the mammogram, using the mammogram, like a sort of a radiation or film procedure just to check for the abnormalities in the lungs. So that's why pain is not always a definite way to test for breast cancer. So I would rule out pain because there are different causes. Like I said, pain can as a result as a kind of.
Okay, so
okay.
Okay, thank you. So a follow-up question to what I've said. Based on the symptoms or early signs that you've mentioned, a question has been posted in our comment section to say, if these are particular to women, how will a man identify the risk in his own breast? So because a lot of things you've said is, okay, discharge in the nipple, lumps can even go both to a male and female, but a lot of the symptoms you've mentioned are a bit specific to women. So by the time you start to notice these things, there's something irregular going on. So how do men also identify this?
Okay, that's a good question.
Somebody has asked, what is a lymph node? So perhaps you can take the two at the same.
All right, that's fine. So a lymph node is, let me start with the lymph node. Lymph node, it's an organ, like a swollen organ, sort of that is responsible for transporting substances around your body, through the blood system, and it also transports houses what we call lymphocytes or the white blood cells as well, those lymph nodes. So basically, the lymph nodes are present in the breast and in the axilla. The axilla means your armpit. So if they drain fluid, basically, that's just the layman explanation, they drain fluid. So if there's a swelling or there's an infection of the breast, then this lymph node will be swollen. So that's the relationship between breast cancer or any inflammation with lymph nodes. So for in answering your question for the male may not have typical symptoms like the women, but the males would also exhibit. We have males who are gynecomastic, meaning that they have enlarged breast, like on the plus side, enlarged breast. So those people may also have pains and lumps in the breast. So they may not get to, the discharge is also part of it too as well. A man can also have discharge, but breast cancer happens to me in just 1% of males. So it's not common, it's very rare. I've probably even seen like maybe a couple of males are having this condition. So not all cases, not all conditions that happen in women that will happen in male, but we are going to be having lumps, we're going to have discharge as well. If there's discharges, we're going to have maybe pain for men, we're going to have pain, and pain can be more definitive for men because you're not ovulating. So these are some of the signs we could see for males as well. And of course, mammogram is a test to check for abnormalities.
Okay, all right. Please go on in your conversation.
Okay. You're talking to me now?
Yes, I am. Okay, you've answered questions I asked, so can carry on.
Okay, all right. So that's why it's very important to get yourself checked, so I think there's this breast self-examination. I'm sure we all know that for female, some of the preventive methods we can employ, where you check your breast every a few days after your menstrual flow. For those of us still menstruating, like 5 to 7 days after your menstrual flow, you check for irregularities, and you can do that while standing in the mirror, looking at you put your both hands in your waist, and you're going to be looking at the mirror to check for any changes in asymmetrical changes, like one is overly bigger than the other. Although one breast is a little bit slightly larger or bigger than the other, but if there's obvious changes in shape or dangling, or there's a dimpling in one of the breasts, these are some of the changes we could look out for that may prompt you to know that there's a condition, there's something going wrong with your breast. Then you can also do that by lying down, putting a pillow or a cloth at the back of the shoulder of the opposite breast you're going to examine. So with your opposite hand, you can use the pads of your finger, the first 3 fingers, to examine circularly with the same pressure in all 4 quadrants. Of course, just to check if there are abnormalities. So these are some of the preventive way we can do these as well. So you can also just do that to check for any lump or for any swollen lymph nodes. You do that through way to your armpit just to check for any swollen lymph. So these are some of the preventive measures that we can take, because it's safe, it's cheap. You don't have to go to the hospital for breast self-examination. And for those that hit menopause, you can do that at any specific time in the month. So, and you can do that where you're showering for women. Just where you're in your bathroom, just check yourself as well. So these are the sure way. Everyone should know how to do breast self-examination, just so we can rule out abnormalities as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So I was going to ask, because you mentioned about doing a breast check. So how does this typically go? What do you need to do? Is it possible for you to show us how to do a breast check when we're in the bathroom?
Sorry, I didn't get that question. Is it possible to do what?
For you to illustrate how we're supposed to go about doing a breast check for ourselves.
Okay. I think probably I'll just let me see if I can share my screen with you just to. But I don't think I wouldn't be able to play a video now. I'll probably show you a picture. Pictures of positions you can stay just to check your breast. Is that okay?
All right. Yes, that works. While we're waiting, please let's take the survey poll that has come up, basically to just shed more light on our awareness level, so that we know what is missing and how we can go about augmenting our knowledge base.
Okay, I'll have to share my screen now. I think you've disabled. You'll not be. I don't know if you'll be able to.
You'll be given permission soon. Dr. Precious, can you please share your screen now?
Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes, please. Please go ahead.
So you can see the first position here, where the female is standing in front of the mirror, just checking out for any, abnormalities or any obvious change in shape. And she can also do that while putting both hands on her side or on her waistline, just to press down a bit with pressure and then turn from side to side just to check for any changes or abnormalities in the breast. So you can also do that by raising your both your arms above at the back of your head. So all of this is just to check, press it forward a bit to check for changes as well. So these are some of the ways we can do breast self-examination. So the last part here, seeing the female sitting down, sitting down a bit in a sitting position, These are just to check. This is because basically breast self-examination is done in two procedures, which is inspection and palpation. Inspection means you are looking at the changes, obvious changes with your eyes without touching, while palpation is you physically touching the breast just to check for abnormalities. So
just a light joke. I see that we have woman. Considering that we just mentioned that men stand a chance of getting breast cancer, would this still be the same?
It's just 1%.
Thing that they would. 1% is still a bit significant.
No,
they're dealing with a million.
No, men don't do breast self-examination. It's relegated to female because I think it's more like it's relegated to female, like primarily female.
Hello, Dr. Precious, we lost you.
Yes, that's breast self-examination.
Okay. So how do men check? Do you have to go to the hospital to check?
But it's more obvious for male. I mean, like I said, some males have increased breast tissue, so that breast is looking like a woman. It's like it's hereditary, for instance. So if you start noticing changes like that, or there's lump, I mean, everyone has tissues, even if male or women or female. So a male would obviously just probably press down because we don't have much adipose tissue in the breast. So it's very obvious to notice a lump in the males than for female, because for females, you may be touching breast tissues and you'll be thinking it's a lump, but it's not a lump. It's just your tissue, your glandular tissue, your fibrous tissue. So for males, it's much more obvious for me. Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Let's take a question in the Q&A session.
So, did you get that?
Yes, I did. I'd like to take one of our questions. Somebody has asked, how frequently should one go to a medical practitioner for a breast cancer check? Hello, Dr. Precious, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Did you get that?
Yes, I heard you. Did you get my question? Hello, Dr. Precious, are you with us?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm here. I didn't get your question, please.
Okay, let me take it again. How frequently should one go to a medical practitioner for a breast cancer check?
Okay, if you notice any changes during breast self-examination, then it's advisable to go see a professional. So you have to notice that changes yourself. That's why it's advisable to use the pads of the finger, like we are seeing on the screen. Just check yourself as a female. And if you notice the changes, you can go. But routinely, you can go just check using the mammogram, maybe once in a year, for 6 months, as long as you don't have any obvious changes in the breast tissues. You can do that routinely, maybe it's once every 6 months. That's twice in a year. So that can work. But if you notice any changes, like we've talked about now, then it's advisable to go see a doctor or a medical professional.
Okay, so we've spoken a bit on how to check. Let's start with preventing. Are there steps one can take in preventing this? Can you strive to prevent breast cancer?
It depends. Breast cancer issues. Breast cancer the cause is not really specific. Although there are some abnormal genes, it's called BRCA1 and BRCA2, some abnormal breast cancer genes that one could inherit from parents that could pose a risk for developing breast cancer. So it's good for individual, for a female to go check those genes. We have abnormal or the mutation in those genes. So if someone has that BRCA1 and 2 abnormal genes, both male and female, then there's a high chance of developing, breast cancer. So this is one of the screening is part of preventive medicine. Go screening yourself to know the risk. So it's part of preventive medicine. And as well, of course, the breast self-examination is the primary way to prevent breast cancer, because you're going to be catching the breast cancer right on time, and the prognosis will be much better. So that's why it's very important to check yourself, breast self-examination routinely, and report any abnormalities. So then, of course, sometimes, although breast cancer is really something we are trying to still do research on, just to know the causes. But it's very important to know that some of these things, they just happen, even while some persons may not have this mutation of breast cancer gene, abnormal genes. So some people may still end up developing breast cancer as well. So of course, we have risk factors and causes. Some of the risk factors, one of the ways to also check yourself is to know the risk factors. Like for example, increase in age can also, is a risk factor for breast cancer. Or there's an history of breast cancer in the family, or the gene that I've talked about, or you started menstruation before 12 years of age. That's early menarche. So these are some of the risk factors. So if you notice all of this in you as an individual, so you could take practice step to getting yourself checked regularly and avoiding breast cancer in general.
Okay, so I'm reading something on your slide and it says history of hormone replacement therapy. Can you expand further on this? How is this a risk factor? And the alcohol intake, because we are living in Lagos. A lot of people now we have let me say that majority of people on this webinar are probably in their early 30s, in the range of 20s to 30s, and it would be safe to assume that at least we're either social drinkers or we've had a glass of wine or alcohol at some point. And I'm seeing that that's also a risk factor. So I'd like you to talk about that. And I'm also seeing that there's something associated to height. So are tall people at risk of actually this risk of having breast cancer? So those 3 talk points, can you please just shed more light on them?
All right, the history of hormonal therapy, replacement therapy, like our post pills that we take, they can alter, the hormonal imbalance in a woman cycle. So most times you realize that when you take post pills or pills, just probably preventive contraceptives or hormonal replacements, so to speak. For some women, maybe trying to prevent pregnancy and all that, or family planning in essence, it can alter the cycle. And of course, we have some breast cancer that are sensitive to estrogen. Estrogen and progesterone are natural hormones produced by the woman body, but some breast cancer, types of breast cancer, they are prone, they are being triggered by estrogen. So the more you take these hormones, the more they alter the cycle, the higher the chances of that woman developing such a condition, especially if someone is going to develop this type of breast cancer, because we actually have tons and different types of breast cancer. So consistent alteration in the hormonal cycle can affect, because of course, if you notice during the menstrual period, there's an increase in the woman has dense breast tissue, in the sense that you start having pains or the swollen breast tissue. So this is your body just telling you, preparing for possible pregnancy. So hormonal replacement therapy can alter the cycle and affect the way these hormones is being secreted, and can predispose these patients or this individual to breast cancer. Then the issue of alcohol causes a lot of conditions. Like I said, risk factors are not always causes. That's why causes is risk factors / causes. So risk factor means it can increase your risk. It can increase your risk of developing this condition. So the more we consume alcohol, the way your body metabolizes alcohol from your liver, down to your entire body system, there's a relationship between excessive alcohol intake and a lot of tons of disease condition. And breast cancer or cancer is not ruled out, from liver cancer and other conditions. Let's not also forget that sometimes some of these other conditions in other part of the body, like cancer, can spread from one organ to the other. So, like for example, someone having lung cancer can spread to the brain, even to the breast, or even to other parts of the body. So, and this is called metastasis. So, if there's a condition in the liver as a result of excessive alcohol intake over time, liver cancer or liver cirrhosis, it can spread over to the other parts of the body. So, these are just risk factors. And for being tall is just relatively, small in the chain, because when a tall person has high breast tissue, when it says high breast tissue, so although it's not a significant risk factor, but a high breast tissue, is a risk factor for the changes that may occur in the breast. So that's what we're trying to establish here. So it's not as if because you are tall, you're going to have breast cancer, or because you are short, you're not going to have breast cancer. So it's just more like because of the tall people tend to have higher breast tissue, and higher breast tissue with those fibrous tissue can also be a risk factor for breast cancer.
Okay, thank you. I'll just take another question from Raphael. So Raphael is asking, how do I know the kind of snacks and food that can cause breast cancer? And considering that we're speaking on the risk factors and causes, I think it'll be nice to also find out, does nutrition have a part it plays? I know you've mentioned about drugs, height, weights, and different thing, family history, but nutrition, does it have anything? Does it also pose as a risk factor?
Yeah, nutrition per se, not specifically, but or maybe indirectly, because if you don't eat well, you become overweight, and if you're overweight, obesity is a leading cause of most disease conditions, including high blood pressure and some cancer cells. So that is why there's a relationship between what you eat and eventually every organ of your body. So it's not like a direct effect. So it's just eating adequately. Just eat adequately. Less junks, less processed food. These processed foods, they have increased salt or sodium intake. It's sodium stored, and they can also increase your heart rate, your high blood pressure, probably prone you to certain disease condition that may eventually now, be a risk factor for this breast cancer. The cause is really unknown, apart from the one we've talked about, like having the family history of breast cancer. These are like the major primary cause, like having the family cancer. So the cause is not really, specific.
Okay, so Dr. Precious, let's go back to our initial standpoint where we were talking about wellness of the mind and the body. So do you think exercise will play a very important part in basically you're predisposed to having breast cancer or some kind of cancer, but let's use breast cancer. But if you're one that frequently exercises and also stress management, do they have any link into breast cancer as well?
Okay, yeah. The thing is, stress management cannot be emphasized because I feel like I think everyone is going to stress in Lagos. As long as you're in Lagos, you're going to have traffic troubles. You're going to have a lot of. I mean, if you get home by 10 p.m., you should be happy because people get home later, or a lot of sumo and everything. So managing stress is very important because once you are stressed, your body releases cortisol. A stress hormone that helps to sort of like a cushion for the stress that we are going through. But the more you subject yourself to the frequency, intensity, and duration of stress, and if you're not properly managed, then you start having different, very funny signs and symptoms of other organs. You get so from even hyperglycemia, which is high sugar level, to increased heart rate, high blood pressure over time. You don't sleep well. So all of this, if you don't manage stress, it can reduce your overall immune system. And if your immune system is reduced, so to speak, then other conditions can come in. Do you get? So it's like an indirect, contribution to whatever disease condition we're going to be talking about. Then exercise is very important because exercise is like you are intentionally subjecting your heart to a certain level of stress, just so it gets prepared for any form of strain, on your day-to-day activity. So exercise is key as well, in managing any form of disease condition. It's more like a proactive step to keep your body fit. And so there's no direct link between exercise and breast cancer, but it's very important that we involve in stress management, just so we don't come down with any disease that is preventable.
Okay. So now that we've given an origin, basically just defined what breast cancer is, talked about risk factors and causes. So what's next? Now that we're aware, what's the next phase in this conversation?
Yeah, the next phase has to be implementation. I mean, like the implementation, we talk about awareness, we talk about mental health. Putting yourself first, putting yourself first, just learn to say no when it's above your pay grade. Basically learn to manage stress. Now it's about implementation. It's just we putting what we've learned or what we now know about, like for example, the signs and symptoms, because Google is not your best friend, even though it's as important as getting information. The more you go online just to get information, you may even end up having a heart attack. And, I've heard people have symptoms of disease conditions that they never had because of the fear of having it. And so sometimes it's good to speak with medical professionals if there are concerns. So now it's more of implementation. It's more of having a regular diet. It's more of having a balanced diet. It's more of living right, having our awareness, because there's a relationship between the mind, the body, there's a connection between them. So which I'm employing everyone, since it's breast cancer month, since it's mental health season, and of course we're talking about awareness in general, we should try and implement some of these steps that we've talked about. And of course, hopefully, we don't come down with any of these preventable or disease conditions.
Okay, so there's a question here, and it's basically saying, why is it that when cancer affects one's breast, the lasting solution will be to cut it off? Is there any particular reason why? Because I would assume that if one has a broken leg, except it's in very severe cases that you have to amputate, but most time you try to fix it. But at least we've seen that there's a significant amount of women that end up taking out their breasts. So why is that?
Okay, because the thing is this, that's why it's very important we get early detection.
Dr. Precious, it seems like your internet
disease condition. So because of breast cancer and grading breast cancer.
Yes, I didn't get that. You said there are two reasons why.
Can you
Dr. Precious, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, please go ahead.
I said we have staging and grading of breast cancer. What it means is that early detection is very important because we have stage 1, stage 2, all the way to stage 4. So basically, if you detect these cancerous cells on time, it means that they are kind of confined to the breast. They don't spread to other parts of the body. So it can be treated. It can be treated with chemotherapy. You don't have to remove the breast. So maybe radiation at worst. So, but if there's late detection or you report late to the hospital, then it must have spread to other parts of the body. So it becomes, the prognosis becomes very poor.
Dr. Precious, it seems like we've lost you.
It's only to what we call advanced cancer. So it has spread to other parts of the body. Then you would want to, remove the breast, The reason why you want to remove the breast in the first, let's say it has passed stage 1, it's not stage 2. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but we lost you significantly.
Oh,
so we'll probably need to go back a bit for our audience so that at least they're able to get the full message. You were speaking about the stagings, cancer stages for the breast, and why when a breast is being cut off, the kind of stage it has gotten to. So if you can take that again for us. Hello, Dr. Precious. Okay, I'd like to apologize on Dr. Precious' behalf. He seems to be having network connectivity. He will join us shortly. But I'd like to just please keep sending in our questions. It will be very interactive. And he would do his best to answer the questions to the best of his ability.
Okay. Can you still hear me now?
Yes, Dr. Precious, please go ahead.
Okay, so the breast tissues, if stage 1 and stage 2, the breast cancer is still confined to the breast itself and the tissue and the muscles under the breast. So most times, removing the breast tissue entirely it's the best bet because you wouldn't want it to spread. So that's why you see people remove one breast. And if that spreads to the other part of the breast, you remove both breasts. So we get something called radical mastectomy. So you remove the breast, you remove even the lymph nodes, the muscles underneath, like radical removal, just so you contain that cancer from spreading to other parts of the body. Meanwhile, breast cancer can spread to the brain and to, every part of the body, to the bones as well. So that's what we're trying to, contain. That's what we call metastasis. Advanced CA is when that spreads to other part of the body. So in this stage 3 and 4, it's when that spreads to other part of the body. So we don't want that. That's what we're trying to, enlighten us on breast self-examination, early detection, just so we have good prognosis. So that's it.
Okay, so let me ask. There seems to be stages of treatment, but what is the percentage of survival? Let me put it that way. So if somebody, and I'll phrase it in this question has been asked, if one has a known family history of breast cancer and decides to just remove both breasts so that they are not able to basically, you need to have breast tissues to be able to have breast cancer. Let me start with that analogy. Is that right, Dr. Precious?
Technically, yes, but the thing is, like I said, men does not have as much breast tissues as female, but they still have breast cancer. So it's just basically, as long as there's a tissue there, yeah, of course, yes, you need to have breast tissue.
Okay, so even removing the breasts completely is not the 100% guarantee against breast cancer, because I'm going by the logic. Okay, so basically there's no 100% way in preventing or treating breast cancer. That's what you just said.
No, what I just said is, if you notice, if there's early detection, the prognosis will be good. It means that some people, your best case is that people beat breast cancer, like it's a breast cancer survival. So it means that they detected on time and it was treated and the cancer went into what we call remission. Remission means like just like it's chilling, like it's no longer there, it's no longer spreading. So, and of course, sometimes it can come back again after many years. So that's why follow-up is very essential and chemotherapy is very essential. So that's just it. So early detection is key to surviving it. Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. So I think this already answers the question on removing both breasts just so that they are proactive. It's not a 100% guarantee.
No. You
will help in your odds.
Yeah, you want to remove the breast because the fact that the family member has breast cancer doesn't mean the person will have breast cancer as well. So it's just a risk factor, but a very high risk factor, because if first generation has it, there's a higher chance that the person will have it, but it's not definite. So you wouldn't want to just go removing your breast just so you don't have breast cancer.
Okay. Raphael has asked another interesting question, and he's saying, why is it that even in the US of A, that is advanced, they cannot seem to cure cancer, and that we have a lot of Nigerians that die in US and other developed countries because of cancer? I don't think Dr. Precious will be able to give his stats on that, considering that he's a practicing doctor in Nigeria. But Dr. Precious, would you like to give some comment?
The comment is this: there's when you say cancer does not have a cure, we have different types of cancer. We have like I said, depend on this. See, the issue with cancer is that people don't report on time, because the truth is this: if you report on time, like no matter how terrible the cancer, even if it's fast spreading, you can contain it. Containing means it's not like a cure. Containing means we put it into remission where it's well monitored and the cancer is contained. And probably I've seen cases as well. If someone that has survived cancer, the person is cancer-free for more than 20-25 years. I mean, for the rest of the person's life, as long as there's regular checkup. So there's no cure for cancer, but there's effective management once there is early detection. And of course, people can live, and survive cancer. It depends on when. It's just prognosis. It's just about coming to the hospital on time. I mean, so all over the world, we are fighting cancer. And it's not easy. It's just your cells saying and misbehaving. There's overproliferation of cells. It's really terrible. It's a serious disease condition. We don't pray for that.
Yes, you've just gone spiritual because that's my next line of questioning. So,
Okay.
what do you think that it's because we are spiritually inclined that most people do not want to speak negative into their life, so they do not pay it or they do not report such cases? They would rather go the spiritual route of, oh, I will fast, I will pray, and the Lord will remove the cancer or whatever this is, because we know that there's also a high surge in miracles of, oh, there was a lump here and I prayed, I fasted and it was removed. So what do you advise? So how do we balance things? Because I understand that man, and when I mean man, in the context of man and woman, is a spiritual being. And
Yeah.
but at the same time, how do we balance it that's not to the detriment of our health?
Okay, so for medical practice, we don't talk much about spirituality, but we realize that spirituality is a major part in people's life. People get healing by meditation. People get healing by speaking to themselves, even at the hospital. So we advocate for that as well. So, but however, you should be wise to understand when to take medical care. It's just like even I mean, for those who are Christians here, no offense to the Muslims. I mean, even Jesus had Luke as a physician among his disciples. So what it means is that there may have been some conditions which you need medical attention for, not just about praying all the time. So if you notice that you are doing the faith thing and it's not working, it doesn't seem to work, then you should seek health care. So wisdom is profitable to direct, and it's very important we understand how to differentiate between spiritual help and physical help. So if someone that is in labor, for example, a woman that is in labor and she's having a liquor, she has a membrane out, fluid out already, and you're speaking in tongues for that woman in the house. The woman, she will die. So you have to leave the house, take the woman to the hospital, and get the person to an obstetrician or a midwife. So these are the things we need. It's just wisdom. So I think we're living in part of the world in Nigeria where we spiritualize everything. Instead of going all out, even instead of using common sense, instead of knowing that, okay, doctors are also ways, God will answer prayers different ways, either on the operation table or while you're at home. So there are different ways God answers prayers.
Yes.
These people are using wisdom from God. It's science. It's so to cure diseases and help you out. Of course, you can't pray for a broken bone to come back together. You need an orthopedic doctor. So for some conditions, so we now get to choose certain conditions like, oh, no, this is not supposed to, I'm not supposed to go to the hospital for this. So I think we need wisdom more. And I wouldn't rule out the impact of spirituality, because I've seen people get healed of incurable diseases because of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to ask a question, but we have less than 3 minutes. So somebody has asked a question, and I'm sure we've all gotten some WhatsApp message or broadcasting basically saying that to prevent cancer, a man has to suckle his wife's breast, that suckling the breast helps in preventing cancer. How true are these myths? Are they just
it's not no, it's not bad. Okay, let me tell you how it works. Normally, if you have a partner, your wife's, okay, I would say wife, it's when you it's supposed to be a kind of preventive way, like what breast self-examination does for a woman is what a man, it's like the man is helping you do breast self-examination in pressing or massaging the breast. But sucking the breast, no, you cannot suck out cancerous cells. Cancerous cells are not transmittable, it's not communicable diseases. So it doesn't cure cancer. But massaging the breast, examining the breast, of course, you enjoy the bosom of your wife, is your wife or your partner. So it can help to detect for abnormalities, maybe lumps that you cannot say, oh, honey, there's something there. There's something here.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. So this is just to encourage our young men out there that whilst you're engaging in this sort of foreplay, you should have some consciousness in mind to just try and see if there's some irregular happenings going on. So in as much as you're enjoying the pleasure, you're not just lost in just the pleasure. Yeah, also looking out for our health. Okay, so now I understand this, because it's a very rampant thing to see on Twitter. The same way they would tell you that if a woman has not had a child, she's at high risk of having fibroids, because fibroids are like childlike. That would be another conversation for another day. But thank you for.
All right.
Okay. All right. So we have just 1 minute, and I think I'll just let Dr. Precious should just marry everything together. I know these topics are very inexhaustible. I mean, we can start talking about the cures and different when we're talking of radiotherapy, we're talking of chemotherapy and all that. But considering that we're doing a lot of awareness, I'd just like you to marry everything. So when the mental health month, we're in the cancer month, breast cancer month, and we're also thinking about body health and mind. How do you marry everything? What's the one advice you give us?
Okay, fine. There's just so much I would like to say, but let me just, like you said, marry everything. Put yourself first, be very intentional about your health. Whatever you do, make sure you're really happy on the inside, because mental health is key. People jump over the lagoon for the least possible cost. So know your threshold, pay attention to your emotions, and be in tune with your emotions, just so you know that just so you notice any changes there is. Then take preventive medicine, eat well, regular exercises, and of course, breast cancer, do breast self-examination. It doesn't end this month, continuously till forever. Then of course, your mental health is very important, and make sure you're happy, and just be proactive about your health. And I think we can be better off as individuals, and of course as a society in general, if we do all of this.
Okay, so another question has been dropped. I was just going to say, last advice. What do you say to somebody that has been diagnosed with breast cancer? What's the best advice? I know that it's not going to be an easy journey. The road is tough. We'll not try to downplay that. It's going to be a tough road. So as a medical practitioner, what do you advise this person?
Someone that is diagnosed with breast cancer?
Yes.
Okay. Then just get treatment, stay positive, play the right mental picture, because there's something called mirror neurons. I'm talking about medical, not just spiritual. I mean, the mental picture you play, not having this disease can help speak to your cells, because cancer is just your cells misbehaving. So play the right mental picture, and things can turn around in the most inexplicable way possible. So play the right mental picture and get yourself treated, get treatment. And the question I'm seeing here says, my pregnant wife complains when I touch her breast. That is paining her. What do I do? She's pregnant, she's full breast. Be gentle about it. Just be gentle, okay? Just be gentle. Let her understand that probably you need that foreplay, but be gentle about it. Yeah, it will pain, of course. She's having changes in her breast. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Precious, for sparing us 1 hour of your very busy schedule. It was very informative, at least I can say, on behalf, especially with the type of questions that were asked. And we'd just like to say thank you for joining us on our banter today. And we look forward to hosting you on other webinars. Thank you very much. So to my audience, thank you very much for sparing Casava in 1 hour of your time to join us. I hope that this was as informative as possible. If you have other questions, please feel free to send us an email, and please go to our website to check for more offerings on what we offer and our products. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. Take care.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Had a great time.
Bye.